Whether you are in the stock market or not, you have probably heard in the last 24 hours about GameStop, the video game store whose stock has gone to the moon in the last few weeks for no apparent reason. But what's happening with GameStop isn't just about this company, and it's not just about the stock market. It's a much bigger reaction to what is happening in our society as a whole. Think populism comes to Wall Street. Let's break it down. There's a type of investment called a short. That's what happens when a trader bets that a stock price will go down. And when it does, they make money. But if it goes up, they lose a lot of money, especially if it goes up a ton. And usually when big hedge funds put on a short, most people don't get in their way. Most people just step aside, maybe go behind them. But this time is different. This time, for the first time, we saw an army of day traders, individuals that saw a few of these big hedge fund managers were betting GameStop would go down. So they banded together in force and bought it and bought it and bought it. And it raised the price, forcing these major hedge funds to lose a ton of dough because they had to cover these shorts. I've got to discuss this because this story isn't over. I want to bring in Andrew Ross Sorkin, New York Times columnist, founder of DealBook, and co-host, of course, of Squawk Box. And also with us, my old friend Michael Novogratz, former co-founder of Fortress Investments, now CEO of the cryptocurrency firm Galaxy Digital. Michael, I want to go big picture first because from a cultural perspective, these Reddit, these Robinhood traders, this is the same spirit as all of those $10 donors who thrust Bernie Sanders into the center of the political establishment. The same spirit of those small groups and individuals that use social media platforms to create political and social justice movements. Now it's that exact same spirit, but they're trading GameStop on their phones. Can you connect the dots?
Yeah, listen, there is an anger out there. If you go on the Reddit chat rooms, or you're shocked at how much anger. There's almost a nihilism of let's tear down the system. Right? This is generational. It's millennials and Gen Z looking at baby boomers and say, you screwed our planet up, you screwed our economy up, you screwed our future up. We're sick of you and we're coming after you. And so, listen, part of this is a classic short squeeze, but part of this is much bigger. It's that same, as you were saying, it's that same nihilism that we saw with people trying to tear down the Capitol. It's that same anger you saw in the Black Lives Matter protests. I remember the LA protest, there was "Eat the Rich" was written all over LA. Part of this is the rich-poor gap, right? The inequality gap continues to get wider. Part of this is people are sick of the insiders always seeming to win, right? The real estate guys get to depreciate taxes. It's hard to be able to participate in an IPO unless you're rich. The private deals go to the wealthy guys, and they seem to change the rules. And so the little guy is sick of it. And you're seeing that in multiple places in America. And so it's time for change. We need systems change. And I think that's what this is calling out for. Now, I would want to say to the listener, things have gotten crazy, and I think anyone who buys these stocks at these levels is going to lose all their money. And so I would advocate, if you're long these stocks, to sell them and not to participate if you're not.
And that's where I want to go with this. Andrew, all the points Michael is making about the system being rigged for the big guy, for the rich. I mean, I can't walk in and buy the Airbnb IPO at new issue date. By the time I get to buy it, it's when all the rich people are selling it. However, this strategy to step in and buy up these stocks of failing companies, AMC movie theaters, Build-A-Bear, GameStop, the fundamentals of these companies are light years away from where the stock is performing. This thing will collapse, much like what we saw in 1999 with the internet bubble. In 1999, we were all excited about anything that ended with .com, and then it ended in disaster.
Look, what I'm concerned about is that this is a pump and dump scheme that effectively is being cloaked, as Mother Teresa has arrived on the scene. I think there are real underlying issues with the system that need to be resolved. I do not want to protect the system. I love watching the little guy beat the big guy as much as anybody. But what I wonder is whether these folks trying to, quote unquote, stick it to the man are ultimately going to be sticking it to themselves, in truth, because, as you just said, the fundamentals of this are so out of whack, and there are people who are going to lose a lot of money who can't afford to lose the money. The hedge fund manager who's lost the money, fine, but guess what? If he's got a mortgage even on the second or third property he's got, he can pay it. we have people who are putting money into the market right now, either because they want to make money or because they are trying to pursue this truth that could very well lose their rent.
Michael, this is my concern with that very thing. At the moment, David is beating Goliath. They're winning. But look at history, right? Look at the 2008 subprime housing crisis, right? Yes,
yeah, no,
people applied for loans that they shouldn't have, and they lost their houses. They lost everything. And those shady bankers and those mortgage brokers, maybe they lost their jobs, but they were A-OK. But those who lost their homes, they still lost their homes. That could happen again. The big guy gets bailed out before the little guy does.
Yeah, Chris Sacca, who is a friend, tweeted this morning that in 1999 he used his student loan money to bet on the internet bubble, and he was thinking he was so smart and lost a lot of money. And by the end of it, he was down $1.5 million in debt, and it took him years to dig out. And so he put his warning sign on. Listen, you're 100% right. Listen, if the guys who got in this early, they made money. There's 100% certainty of it, and they made a lot of money. But what's happening now, GameStop traded $23 billion yesterday. That means there were $23 billion of new buyers and sellers. And so you're turning over to new people thinking, hey, I got to get in on this thing. And it's really dangerous. I had a friend call me. He said, I just bought AMC, which was another stock like GameStop, and I hang up the phone and sell it immediately. And it's already $5 lower than it was. And so it's very dangerous for people, and it's going to end poorly. Then there's going to be lawsuits, and there's going to be finger pointing, there's going to be regulation that has to figure out how do we stop this stuff.
But let's talk about the positive here, because there is something beautiful about the democratization of finance and Wall Street. Andrew, just think about it. The fact that people can use the Robinhood app, and yeah, maybe it's alluring, maybe it looks like a mobile app, and they should be careful. But the fact that it is user-friendly, traditionally, unless you have a background in investing, unless you are part of that universe, it's very difficult to break in, and people should be able to. There are lots of people that have disposable income that if they want to play in the markets should be welcome to and shouldn't have to pay up to be a client of some fancy firm or research organization.
Look, I'm the first to say the market should not just be for the wealthy. They should not be for professionals. What we try to do every day is democratize the process and try to get information to the public. And the only thing that I'm worried about is, in the aftermath of the financial crisis, the public looked at the media and said, why didn't you blow the whistle? Why didn't you blow the whistle loud enough? And now folks like myself, yourself, and others are saying, we're trying to blow the whistle and say, look, this could be a problem. But interestingly, and what's so unique about it is that so many of the Reddit traders out there say, not only do we not need protection, what you're doing is you're protecting the hedge fund guys. You're not protecting us. And so it's a very unique moment in terms of trying to think about what the dynamics are that are at play.
But Andrew, no one's protecting the hedge fund guys. What we're saying is, before you dance on their graves, better check their pulse and look for the exit door, because there's a good chance they're not dead and they're coming for you. And we know this, Michael, because you've been one of those guys forever.
Yeah, listen, I now run a big cryptocurrency business. And, crypto has a lot of the same spirit of what's going on here, right? It was started by people that didn't trust the center, right? It continues to be fueled by this idea that we could recreate a new way of looking at things, right? A new financial system, a new consumer system. I would separate it, though, from GameStop, right? Bitcoin really does serve a purpose. It was specifically designed to be a store of value, where GameStop isn't. And while it's got the same energy, crypto really has a purpose, right? Decentralized finance is peer-to-peer. How can we cut out the rent takers? How can we cut out the Goldman Sachs's and JP Morgans from a system? And so the little guy gets a fair chance. And so there's a whole revolution going on that's happening, before our eyes, that I think in 5 or 6 years is really going to change the way business is done. That's fueled by the same energy that you're seeing in GameStop, but they're completely different things. And so I want to make that point. This GameStop thing feels nihilistic at this point.
Okay, then I just want to get to one final thing. Andrew, Michael was able to get involved in crypto, but he was already a really rich guy. Why not try that venture? When you think about sort of the leader of this revolution, many of these small guys are pointing to Elon Musk, one of the richest guys in the world, who does hate short sellers, which is fine. You got a lot of problem with short sellers. I get that. Who does have a problem with regulators. But he's cheering on these young guys, and we don't even know what his investments are. And at the end of the day, if this all turns out badly, he can put that baby of his, whose name sounds shockingly like R2-D2, get in his rocket ship, literally, and go to Mars. And people would have spent their stimulus checks betting on GameStop.
Well, and I think you're pointing up an issue, which is, and again, I'll say it, though I get attacked online in Reddit and on Twitter and elsewhere, that I think those of us who've seen this movie before have a responsibility to tell folks how it ends. And unfortunately, it typically ends badly. I recognize it's ended well, or for some people who've been able to get out. But when you talk about the Elon Musks or the Chamath Palihapitias or the Cameron Winklevosses of the world who are out there cheering this online, they're in a very different position than most folks out there.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.